Wow, breaking news. New reports come out today that suggest that Anthony Joshua, his father, was upset at Eddie Hearn because his son got knocked out in sparring, had a bad camp, and did not want to proceed with the Andy Ruiz fight. He was forced to proceed with the fight, and we all know what happens. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Let me just jump straight into this. Shout out, this is breaking news. Shout out to worldboxingnews.net. Link is in the description. Wow. New media. Very interesting article just came out, and I want to go over it with everybody. Please smash the like button so I could get started. This is the top article. World Boxing News. Anthony Joshua's father wanted son out of the Andy Ruiz bout after spar KO. So I'm like, okay, right? Keep in mind, this is a UK-based website. This is not like an American website, slander site, or, just, I have to show you that because, people always look for excuses, It says Anthony Joshua's father wanted his son out of the Andy Ruiz bout after sparring KO. Wow, let's look at this. All right. World Boxing News can reveal Anthony Joshua was indeed knocked out in sparring after being informed of happenings from the event. On the back of journalist Gareth A. Davies, who, he's all around from he's a reporter. I've met him and stuff. Previously speculating on the situation in the aftermath, WBN is now able to clarify those reports. Joshua was put down badly in a training session, which was evident in marks on the former world champion's face. Physically, Joshua would have been fine for fight night, although mentally, whether the Briton was all there was in question. New ruler Andy Ruiz Jr. was able to capitalize on what were obvious frailties in the Joshua psyche. The 30-year-old was out of sorts and questioning feelings of fatigue, off and fatigued in the corner between rounds. Not taking anything away from Ruiz, though. The Mexican-American may have taken Joshua out anyway, but big doubts need to be addressed as to why Joshua was allowed to fight when clearly he was not at 100% mental capacity. Those around AJ may have some explaining to do in the future as doubts creep in as to whether Joshua will lace up a pair of gloves again in 2019. Reports that Joshua is not ready to accept a rematch with Ruiz have already begun. Furthermore, the 2012 Olympian potentially may want some extended time off. Father. Promoter Eddie Hearn was even targeted for abuse by Joshua's father inside the ring. Robert Joshua was spotted pointing and gesturing at Eddie Hearn as Ruiz spoke to DAZN reporters for his post-fight interview. It's understood by WBN that Robert wanted Anthony pulled from the contest after the incident in sparring. The fight continued as planned. It's now evident all was not entirely well in Joshua's preparations. A second fight with Ruiz is due to take place in December in the United Kingdom. Whether Joshua accepts the return is now a subject for debate, with the WBO and IBF mandatories set to be called in the near future. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. Ruiz shares the ring with another competitor for his first title defenses. And this was written by Phil J. Wow. I fucking told you. New media. I told you that old media was dead. See, y'all thought we were playing, man. I told you. Listen, this is sweet vindication. Listen, this is deeper than just Joshua. I'm not happy that a man loses or whatever. I'm not rejoicing off of that. But Eddie Hearns and Anthony Joshua attracted a lot of ignorant fans based on their actions, what they said, nationalistic pride or, home field advantage and a bunch of shit. You know, Eddie Hearns playing games with Wilder's name, and everything I said was true. I did real life detective work. I told you the UK media needs to step up. I told you this. I told you that Joshua had mental lapses, and I questioned his mental fortitude. This is what I said. I didn't know what was going on behind the scenes, yet I seen it because I'm a real journalist. I paid attention. This all makes sense. Now, this, you could say, oh, it's just a rumor, but it all makes sense. So I believe it. Look at how Joshua was acting before the fight began, right? He was acting out of sorts and, you know, fake smiling, and it didn't look like he wanted to be there. Boxing is 95% mental. The last 5 to 10% is physical. That's why it doesn't matter that he's 6'6" and built like Action Jackson. Those things don't matter. Andy Ruiz showed the true heart of a champion. Mexican. He showed the heart of a Mexican warrior, guerrero, right? Because he was floored, and he's an Olympian. So he's like, I don't know how many times Andy Ruiz has been knocked down or knocked out at sparring, or if he has, or I don't know those things. But all I know was when it was wartime and it was do or die, he's the one that pulled it through and was like, fuck it. If I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out shooting. You know, I got to, get this big dude off of me. And then he landed a shot. Joshua, this is disastrous for Team Joshua. Absolutely disastrous. Because if you got knocked out in sparring, then you draw first blood, cool. The pressure starts to amount. Wilder just 2 weeks ago got an impressive knockout at the hands of, knocking out Dominic Breazeale in the first round. You've never fought in America. You get him badly hurt. You're trying to channel everything like, okay, I got him hurt. Seemingly, this is like the illusions of action. Like, I got to do something. I got to impress. I'm in New York. I've never fought out here. You already had doubts before. This is why Joshua probably didn't fight smart and pounced on Andy Ruiz and tried to chump him. And in the process, he gets buzzed. He gets hit with the hook, backs him off. Ruiz like, oh, what was that? Bow again. And then Joshua was like, oh, shit. This probably brought back the nightmares. Whatever happened in sparring, they're saying it was a sparring KO. That's why it makes sense. That's why it makes sense to be KO for sparring. It's not that Joshua has probably never been knocked out before, because, let David Price say and Daniel Dubois, they hurt him, dropped him, stopped him, whatever in sparring. But the timing, boxing is about timing too. This was his American debut. Training camp wasn't going maybe as planned. If this is true, he had marks on his face. He had Gerald Miller he was supposed to fight with one style, one set of advantages and weaknesses and attributes. They totally switched the opponent, and he knew Andy Ruiz had fast hands. He looked scared and like timid from the opening round. This is shocking. This is shocking that, not shocking that this stuff happened, but it's shocking that I was so right and able to identify this stuff. New media, 7 reasons, and able to identify it without knowing the backstory, right? Just put it all in perspective. I was like, damn, Joshua, he's not looking too confident. Like, he looks scared and skittish. He had a lazy jab. I'm like, man, you 6'6", and this dude is a 5-week late replacement, and you're looking timid. You're the bigger guy, and you lost round 1. You're the bigger guy, you're backing up. You're the bigger guy, and your ring walk was awkward. It was like I told you. I literally said that. I said it's like Tupac, that last photo of Tupac in the Beamer, where he knew, it's almost like he knew something would happen. He was just blank. He just had a blank stare, like, that's how Joshua, it just looked like everything was weird. The ring walk, the team looked real solemn. It's like they were walking to a funeral or something, like they knew, And then the father getting mad. I just did a video about it. I'm like, something's not adding up. I just did it. Go check the video. The father attacking Eddie Hearn. This all makes sense. Why would Eddie Hearn be getting like cussed out by his pops just because he lost? Floyd Mayweather dusted off Robert Guerrero. We didn't see Ruben Guerrero attack, the promoter or, Sam Watson or anything. But in this situation, we seen his father visibly upset, and then the reports were like he was cussing him out and saying, "What the fuck? I told you." Because now it makes sense. If Joshua got knocked out in sparring and they wanted to ex-nay the event, like, hey, this is disastrous. This is, this could only lead to worse things. Let my son recover. Let my son, But Joshua was the man. All the pressure was on him. And Eddie Hearn has ties to Madison Square Garden. He has to impress DAZN. This is an event for his company. Gerald Miller already pulled out. DAZN needs a big fight. Canelo's only doing $600K. So, Eddie Hearn made an executive decision. No, just go out there and, finish his kid. And the perception, I told you, you can't underestimate Andy Ruiz. People keep talking about his shape and look at the way he looks and stuff like that. Those types of things. So this was like a recipe for disaster. You're in there with an opponent who looks pudgy or tubby. He looks more than meet the eye. I told you, don't judge a book by its cover. This was the worst possible camp, worst possible outcome. You have a diesel 6'6" Anthony Joshua who lost to somebody who people are saying, oh, it looks like this guy just came out of the crowd. Looks like this guy, was shopping at Home Depot and they just picked him and, making all these jokes, and he looks like Fluffy Iglesias. And then Joshua sit up here, got knocked down 4 times and stopped. Now they're talking about they don't know if Anthony Joshua wants the rematch. So Eddie Hearn is in a bad spot. Because if he doesn't take the rematch, people are going to know why Joshua doesn't want the rematch, because he wants no smoke, And now you have given your competition, PBC and Al Heyman, control of the board in the heavyweight division. So I could see why tempers flare with the pops and stuff. Also, what does this do to the Wilder fight? They could have fought $50 million plus 50% of a pay-per-view, and they sit up here and lost in America for a lot less money with no pay-per-view back-end money and not even the chance at another belt. Now they just got knocked out by, somebody who doesn't even look the part to the average human. That's why it's so shocking of an upset. I told you this wasn't no upset. Told you Andy Ruiz could scrap, and now that is coming out that Joshua was knocked out in sparring. This is what creates doubts. Boxing, I told you how much mental it is. Look at him. He got knocked down. He's just like, what the fuck did I get myself into? That's what it looks like. It looked like the beginning of a BET movie. Like a heartbeat. Boo, 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 boo. Damn. I know you're probably wondering how I got here. It all started when I left the UK. Whoosh, and then they cue a flashback scene and shit. This is bad, people. This is bad. They did some digging around and said Joshua wanted out of the fight. And literally, I don't know of any other situation why I've been this on the money right across the board. Remember, I said, how is he telling Radio Raheem he has marks and bruises and cuts on his face? And he's like, oh, yeah, it's physio stuff. It's physio, I got a black eye and all this stuff from physio. And I'm like, does he feel like I am stupid? Does he feel like I'm stupid? See, New Media, we talked about this stuff. I was like, I don't like when people insult my intelligence. I'm like, physio, I know what a physiologist is, or physiology. So a physio, they help oftentimes people with cerebral palsy and like coming off of motorcycle car accidents, help you get your range of motion back, your joints, show you how to walk again. And I'm like, why would you have cuts and bruises and marks from that? And I was one of the first people to bring this up. I'm like, how you get these, marks on your face? That physio stuff doesn't make sense, right? Then he came back behind that and did an interview with Sky Sports, and they said, yo, what's up with the marks on the face? He said, oh, yeah, I had a lion and comp I had a lion. It's just some sparring, war wounds, just like I got on my hands. Don't try. We're not talking about your hands. Everyone knows your hands got the knuckles. If you try to switch the subject real quick, I study. I look for the red flags. Why would you tell what? And I told you Joshua does this. That's why I can't believe it. Remember I said I can't trust what he's saying because it's always different. You told Radio Raheem that you have marks on your face because of physios. I made a video. He might have seen the video, right? So he knew people were on to him. I'm like, how are physios injuring your face? That's like me having a black eye and cuts and bruises. And I'm like, oh yeah, I just got back from my chiropractor. Doesn't make sense. So by the time Sky Sports asked him a couple of days later, he revealed the truth. It said, oh yeah, there was lions. And the guy was like, yeah, lions in the camp. He's like, no, I'm Team Buatsi. I can't say lions in the camp, but I had a lion and this is what we do, man. We do our thing, and had basically rough sparring. So the first thing, the physio to Radio Raheem, that sounded like the lie, which is what I told you. I'm like, how does a physio do that? Why would you have marks from a physio? And people are like, oh, shut the fuck up, ego, you don't know. And then when it was questioned, maybe he's seen the video, maybe his team seen the video. I told you this new media stuff spread. So when he see people, were questioning the physio story, then he came correct. And then when Sky Sports later asked him, he told the truth. See, this is why I told you I can't trust that, because it's always something. He told Aka Brock that he's going to walk out to Dipset or Biggie. Then they asked him a day later at the weigh-in, who you going to walk out? A different crowd? He said, oh yeah, Frank Sinatra or Sweet Caroline. Okay, Sweet Caroline it is. This was a disastrous camp. And I think he was out of his comfort zone and out of his element anyway, based on the fact that it was American debut, based on the fact that Wilder 2 weeks ago, it was just all wrong. That's why his dad wanted him pulled. 2 weeks ago, Wilder just had a sensational first round knockout. Wilder also and Al Heyman strategically dumped pieces of information littered and sprinkled throughout his fight week, saying, hey, guess what? I'm fighting Luis Ortiz. Joshua can wait. Stop cloud chasing. Don't bring up us. We already got our schedule booked for 2019, right? Then 2 days later, they came out and said, hey, on top of the Luis Ortiz news, I got some more big announcement. We fighting Tyson Fury. Contracts are all signed. That put more pressure on Joshua. Pressure bursts pipes. That's why this story is believable. It's just all, okay, the physio story, switching to I had a lion in camp, the inconsistencies, Eddie Hearn being like, chastised by his pops after the fight. Joshua looked out of sorts. Like even in the ring, before the ring, he making these faces and shit. And the walkout was weird and very solemn. Beyond that, Joshua in the ring, he was talking weird. They said something and he's like, why am I feeling this way? I'm like, what the fuck? You don't usually hear a fighter. So I'm like, damn, maybe he has a concussion. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. He said, why am I feeling this way? And he said, another part, he was like, what did he hit me with? What punch was that? And then it's like talking back, like, you guys got to get a game plan, bro. And I told you, I questioned the mental fortitude of Anthony Joshua. And you shouldn't throw stones if you live in a glass house. Like Eddie Hearn, he also riled up people and done his fair share of talking. This was disastrous. This is why his pops wanted him to pull the plug. All the warning signs that this was not good. Plus, I really feel like the 7 reasons is even more true. You're training in Miami, a place full, like maybe you don't know America, but why Miami? You're supposed to, like, I know fighters personally that train and they lock themselves in the gym. They don't have sex. They grow a beard. They don't care about haircuts. Joshua was sitting on in his hotel or wherever by the pool with a self massager, the machine, and it was like, bah, 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 and he's smiling and stuff. I'm like, what is he doing? He was filming MTV Crib style vlogs for his YouTube channel. And he was like, oh yeah, this is my Miami gym. I don't even have one of these in London. It gave me an idea. I'll probably bring this back home. Meanwhile, you had a guy who had a deceiving look in Andy Ruiz, who was full of heart, has an amateur pedigree. This now spells disaster. And coming back, I can never tell another man, what their limit is in terms of growth or, comeback. All I know is, with all these things considered, Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua are in a very tight position, because now the rematch becomes do or die. Andy Ruiz definitely goes in with the momentum and the upper hand, right? So this is a David Price, Tony Thompson must-win rematch. And we've seen what happened in the David Price fight. So, they can't afford that for Joshua. So it becomes, do you try to save face and push the issue and see if you could beat this guy straight away? Or do you take the lesson, take the loss, and take the fact that all of his belts are gone and now in hands of Al Haymon and PBC fighters, and not pursue the immediate rematch and get your fighter put back together and, give him some lower level opposition so he can learn from it and get his confidence back. Very difficult position for Eddie Hearn. On top of that, Eddie Hearn played games with American media and new media, spreading all these lies, bringing up Wilder and, saying stuff that we knew, asking people in New York who Wilder was and all this. And it all came, this is, the dominoes that started to fall. This is a nightmare, man. But I believe this story that he got stopped at sparring, because again, if you didn't get stopped at sparring, why would you have two different stories? And I told you guys this. You told Radio Raheem it was just simple physio stuff. Like you could just pacify us as fans by saying some bullshit that sounded weird. And then you said it was a lie in camp. I talked about these things. Joshua probably knew this new media shit is real. Joshua probably knew his team seen, he knew people were onto it. He knew the shit wasn't adding up. This ain't the UK. I told you guys, this ain't the UK. You can't just say whatever to Americans. We get all types of con artists and fast talkers and stuff like that. Come to the big cities, come out to the Bay, come out to LA, come out to New York. We're used to that, go, they say in a New York minute, everything happens quick. So when he said the physio stuff, it automatically sounded, physio, what physio would do this to you? But it sounded like he was covering something up. See, this is why I told you I can't trust what Joshua is saying. The other thing he said was post-fight. They said, hey, you seemed out of it, bro. Like somebody asked him a question. And I think they even referenced it in this article. They said, you seem really out of it. Were you good? And he was like, oh, no, this is completely me. Camp was great. I just made some mistakes and, I got to dust the cobwebs off and come back. So he refuses to tell the truth because tell the truth. He literally said when they asked him, were you good? Was your preparation good? Blah, blah, blah. Right? He said, yeah, I feel great. It's nothing. It's me. It's just me. And he tried to take all the responsibility. Now, I'm not saying he would have to, before a crowd of media after getting knocked out, I'm not saying he would have to explain and say, oh, yeah, I was knocked out in camp. But you could say we had some hiccups in camp that we're addressing. Boom. You could be ambiguous. You could be vague like half of the other times when you're talking. Devil in details and all this other stuff. So, this is an uphill battle for Joshua because it like I said, with the Wilder situation, with this situation, there is no level of consistency. And you played yourself. Oh yeah, camp was great. It's just me. I made mistakes in there. But it sounds like you had a bad camp. And it looks like the writings were in the wall that this was going to be a difficult fight. And they wanted to pull the plug. I mean, look at the title of the article. Anthony Joshua's father wanted his son out of the Ruiz bout. They seen that it spelled trouble. They're like, okay, he just got knocked out in sparring. Mentally, he's going to be shook. Watch the ring walk again and tell me if that story doesn't make sense now. It all makes sense because as soon as he had Ruiz hurt, he kind of just went reckless because the pressure pressure from Wilder, pressure to outdo Wilder's New York performance 2 weeks before, the pressure because this guy looks just like a fat guy or whatever people are saying, right? The pressure because Gerald Miller pulled out, pressure because it's your first time fighting in America, the pressure because behind the scenes you got knocked out in sparring. So he was like, fuck it, I just got to go for it. And he got sloppy, he got reckless, and he got clipped. And then that made it even worse because when it got clipped, then that probably brought back memories of, fuck, I had a shitty camp and what do I do? And he never seemed to recover. He always seemed out of the fight. I told you, I looked at ring walks, his UK ring walks. He always looked like, there'll be more people in the crowd, 70, 80,000 people in the crowd, fireworks, pyrotechnics, and Cisco. I said all these things, different things coming from the scaffolding, fucking Sting from WCW, like starts falling down to the ring and all this extra shit. And he always looked pretty confident and just like, this looked different. This looked like you were walking the Green Mile or something, like you were walking to the electric chair. It felt weird. It looked weird. Now, when this is coming out, it just makes you look bad because your camp didn't keep it a stack, and it explains everything. The father confronting Eddie Hearn, like, man, I told you. I could picture the conversation now. Anthony Joshua's father wanted son out of the Andy Ruiz bout after sparring KO. It's just like the movie Final Destination. The Devin Sawa, the kid, the main event or the main kid, he had a premonition. He was like, get me the fuck off this plane. And it sounds like Joshua had a panic attack because he knew everything was not, adding up. I really believe that now with all this new development. Again, this is a UK site, World Boxing News. So you can't say this is biased media doing a slander job. Nobody's trying to slander job, do a spin job on AJ. I told you the power of new media. And I'm sure the videos and the doubts and, the comments grew. People knew, and Joshua knew people were onto him. So he knew, nobody believed the physio thing. And people were talking about how Wilder, his performance was what it was and viral. Joshua, he knows these types of things. And I told you yesterday in the stream, every picture he was smiling. And I was like, man, it doesn't feel real. It feels like he's putting on a front. It doesn't feel like he's being, it feels disingenuous. I said these things. You're smiling every picture. You putting up a front. Like, that's not the real you. Laughing through the pain. I said these things. Now we see. So were you really this happy and jovial, or were you trying to, this is basic psychology. I guess I'm a physio. I'm a psychologist. New media, because I predicted this whole turn of events. I'm like, man, he's smiling in every picture, and how you smile in every Instagram picture during fight week. You're getting a massage smiling, walking smiling, taking a dump smiling, and I'm like, okay, it feels really contrived. It feels really forced. And then when you get in the ring or you're walking, see, that's the part you can't front on. You could do photo ops and do pictures like this, you could show like that side in pictures. But when he did that ring walk, he looked kind of spooked. He looked kind of shook. He looked like he was like, man, the pressure was mounting, anxiety. Where's all the smiles and shit? That's what I'm saying. Joshua, I can't believe his mindset because he's not being true to thyself. You're smiling all the fight week and all the pictures. And then when it came down to that ring walk, like I said, it was like, Michael Clark Duncan in the Green Mile. Yeah, boss. I just want to go to Disneyland, boss. Like, you look like this was like crumbling and you knew something was up. And I'm like, why is he looking like that? Why is he doing that? I said these things. So old media is officially dead. Crazy, crazy story. And it's crazy how accurate that new media was in this, regarding this situation. Hopefully Joshua can bounce back, but it's going to be an uphill battle. And in my opinion, the best way to bounce back is to be truthful, be real. You know, Andy Ruiz, I feel like he's a good dude. Like, and I'm not saying Joshua's not a good dude, but I feel like he's a good dude. He's just coming to win. You heard what he said to his mama after the fight. Like, mama, we did it. I appreciate my dad. He got me in boxing. He's not living this fake, you know, aura of who he's supposed to be. I think Joshua has these demons like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's trying to impress people. He's trying to wow people. He's trying, like, you know, living in his head type shit. And the final shred of proof of what I'm saying is Keith Idec, who is a promoter, or he's a writer. Anthony Joshua did not attend the post-fight press conference. Doctors were checking him for a concussion, but he did like his own small one. That's what I'm saying. Joshua likes comfort zones. But where is this? He has a tweet about. Where is it? Let me find it. Did he delete it? Wow, I think he deleted the tweet, man. I just showed it yesterday. Anyway, whatever. I think he deleted the tweet, but he had a tweet. I just showed it in the video. See, that's what I'm saying, these cover-ups and stuff. Oh, here it is. I was about to say. So this is what a boxing media journalist put. Eddie Hearn just told us he got the sense from Anthony Joshua, that he's relieved to have suffered his first loss because there was so much pressure on him. You know, and it goes back to what I was saying. Pressure burst pipes. Joshua's mental, you know, fortitude, mental dexterity, what he's willing to put himself through, hiring a sports psychologist. You really want me to believe, looking back on the whole situation, that he was the one chasing Deontay Wilder? You know, just listen to what he said. Oh, I'll fight him when I feel, you know, I'll fight him when I have the best. He said, what if I get hit by Andy Ruiz with one shot? I need a sports physio. Like, it sounded like fronts that were put up, and I think people see it now, new media.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.